Welcome to the Starfish Diaries. I am your host, Liz McKean, and you might have found me from another podcast or from yoga or through coaching or maybe a recovery event, but all that matters is that you're here now, and I am so glad that you're here. On this show, we're going to be talking about identity and self-trust and recovering from all sorts of things, including shame and burnout and squeezing ourselves into what we think good looks like. And I'm going to use a lot of metaphors because that's how I make sense of the world. And I'm hoping that helps you too. I'm really just here to remind you and honestly remind us that there is no such thing as doing life wrong and that you do get to make your life into a place that you want to be. And we're going to figure it out together. So let's go. Hello and welcome back. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to have this conversation with you today, and I'm also delighted by this day in general because the sun is shining. My husband took screens out of our windows since it's getting colder and colder, so we're likely not going to have our windows open very much, if at all. And that just means looking out the windows in my living room where I'm sitting right now, it's like, when you switch your camera setting from like regular picture to, portrait picture or even video, it kind of like changes. I don't know if this is just a iPhone or even old iPhone thing, but I feel like I shift it to something and suddenly everything gets like way crisper. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I can like feel my pupils enlarging just to take it all in. And that is how it feels now when I look out of my windows, and it fills me with delight. So I hope that there is something filling you with delight today. And regardless, we're going to fill our lungs with oxygen. So as always, just give yourself a moment to unclench in some way. Maybe it's your jaw, maybe it's your crinkly forehead. Maybe your shoulders get a little bit heavier. And then whenever you're ready, just going to take a big deep breath in through the nose and out with a sigh. Good. How about one more today? Big breath in. Biggest breath you've taken all day. Fill up with air. And then let it out. My cat sneezed as I was exhaling. So we're breathing all creatures, great and small, furry and less furry. So yay. The topic that popped into my little noggin shortly before I decided to sit down and record today is shame. And alongside shame, really where shame comes from. This could be a much bigger conversation than what will be like a 20 or 30 minute podcast episode. But I think a lot about how much we moralize everything in our, modern society, certainly in Western society. I can't speak for all of the world. And I think it's such a disservice to trying to make our lives a place we want to be, which is the thing that we're doing here, right? That's what Starfish Diaries is all about. Each one of us is a starfish, and we want to make sure that we're in the water so that we can be living our very best life. And that allows us to be, pay it forward and continue to help other starfish. And that's how all the starfishes get to be happy forever and ever. Amen. If you didn't know that was what we're doing here, that's what we're doing here. So to moralize things, to place that type of judgment on everything we think and do, to me feels like, well, to be ridiculous about it, it just seems like a shame to be doing that, to be adding shame. Obviously my first thought goes to substance use, whether that's drinking or other substances. But we do it with food. We do it with making decisions about how we spend our time. We do it rarely. Rarely can I think of something that doesn't have some sort of moral judgment attached to it. And I can't count how many times I've had this conversation with people, because when someone comes to me and says they have a habit they want to break, again, might be a substance related thing, or it might be something totally different, without fail, they have decided that they are a worse person because of this habit, because they have this thing that they're doing that, you know, for sure is a solution for something. It's making them feel better, whether it is I drink and then I, am able to socialize. I smoke pot and then I'm able to sleep better. I, eat this cookie and it just gives me a little bit of joy in the middle of a day where all I'm feeling is stress. Or even something like, I oversleep. Like there's just again, all these things are just our wise self trying to find a solution to an actual problem, right? There's some kind of discomfort or untenable thing that's happening that we have found something that can help, even if it's temporary. And of course that is hard to let go of. And to add moral judgment on that, to decide that I can't stop doing this thing because, again, there's a very wise part of you that is not letting you stop doing that thing, because that wise part of you knows that you can't stand the alternative and you need a tool, and this is the only tool that we found. But we've decided because we can't stop doing this thing, I am a bad person, or not as good of a person, or I was bad today, or I can't get it together. My forever self-talk, when I can tell that there's, some mean talk going on in my head, is like, get your shit together, Elizabeth. I bet you have a version of that. Something that goes through your head like, what is wrong with you? Or why? Those voices in your head that are just like, I don't get it. Why can't you figure this out? Why do you keep doing this thing? And then you just beat yourself up again and again because why can't you stop doing this thing? And I just don't think that's helpful. In my experience, that's certainly not helpful. When I was trying to get sober from alcohol, and the only way I was ever told was possible to do that, the only socially acceptable pathway rather, to sobriety that I was presented with was 12-step. And 12-step was not my jam. I very much appreciate that it's helpful for some people. And so if your story is different than mine, that's okay. And if it's not okay with you, that's okay. You can just hit stop and stop listening. But it's okay with me that our stories are different. You're still very welcome here. But I can tell you, for me, as someone who was incredibly shame motivated when it came to the actual harmful behavior that was hurting me, when I would go to meetings and was told that I was flawed and I need to really look harder at my flaws and I needed to break down my ego, and I had a disease that I just would always have, and forever I would have to hold myself accountable and really keep an eye on this part of me that's just dirty rotten. I was like, well, yeah, I know, like that's the what I'm telling myself every single day anyways. And I would, on the way home from a meeting, without fail, pick up a bottle or whatever, something to drink. And it's because the shame cycle was just being fed. It was like, I'm bad. This is a bad thing I'm doing. It is proof that I'm bad. I can't stop doing it. Therefore I am more bad. And it was just like that. It was just proof. And also, what do I have to make myself feel better when I'm feeling this way, this absolutely intolerable discomfort and shame and anxiety and panic? Alcohol was the thing that I had. So I would just get more of that. And the cycle would continue and continue and continue. And I've told the story before, but there was finally a point that I found out there were other ways. I went to yoga and stuck with yoga longer than I had in the past, and had moments on the yoga mat where I felt good. And that was like the first time it had ever occurred to me that it was even possible that something else could make me feel good, feel better, aside from this than drinking. And that was, I mean, That wasn't shame. That wasn't me beating myself up, being like, what is wrong with you? Why didn't you do yoga instead all this time? No, it was just like, holy shit. I've been trying to solve this problem with this thing, which is causing its own host of problems. I feel terrible all the time, physically, emotionally, mentally. My panic is worse. And I do this other thing. I feel better, similarly. And all that other stuff isn't there. So maybe there's a tool that I can use instead of this one tool that I have. And then when it comes to the tool, I might need to stop the thing that is hurting me. Maybe it doesn't look like more shame. Maybe it looks like a new solution for the problem that was there all along. And I deeply believe that that is true for so many other things. And again, this isn't hitting for you if you're a person that, feel like beating yourself up is the only way to keep yourself in line and stop behaviors you don't want to have as part of your life. I think we are very different. And I'm so glad if you found something that works for you. And also, it's just not my jam. And it's also not the way I work with people. My philosophy is that if there's something you are doing that is hurting you, there's wisdom behind that. There's a reason for that. And shaming it is only just going to make it feel worse. It would be like saying, oh, you have a hole in your boat is sinking. Here's a cork. Stick it in the hole. That will make the boat stop taking on water, and now your boat's not going to sink. Also, you're a really bad person for using that cork. So now it feels like, all right, well, either I hate myself because I have this cork I'm not supposed to be using, or I sink and die because I cannot live with water in my boat. And it's like, those are just not you. And if you tell me I'm a bad person for using the cork, I mean, the likelihood is I'm going to be like, okay, well, we'll figure that out later. I got to use this cork because I will sink. I am sinking. You have not given me another option. Whereas if you pulled up in another boat and reached out a hand and said, hey, that sucks that your boat is sinking. That's so crappy. I tried that cork too. And honestly, I really don't give a shit what that other person is telling you about the cork, but I will tell you it doesn't actually work very well. So why don't you come over here on my boat? We'll tow your boat into shore and we will patch it up. Great. Nobody had to hate themselves in order for that to be a solution. And that doesn't mean that my boat's not going to spring a leak again in the future. But maybe next time my boat springs a leak, I can look around and see if there's anyone with an outstretched hand. Maybe I can, feel less guilty for looking for a cork because that's just what I know. But there's also something in me. There's a seed that has been planted that knows there's going to be another option. There's another way to do this. And none of it makes me a bad person. I'm just a person in a leaky boat. I heard somebody say recently something about making mistakes and how we beat ourselves up for the mistake. Because, mistakes happen. Just because there's wisdom behind something doesn't mean that it's not, you're not going to make mistakes. And also sometimes we just fuck up, let's be honest. It has nothing to do with any of what we're talking about. But what this person said, and I'm sure it was on Instagram that I saw this because I'm far too much on Instagram lately, which was a very moralizing, shaming thing to say. And it just came right out of my mouth, just like that, just automatic. For the love. We're going to work on that. What she said is don't waste the mistake. And I was like, well, shit, that's so great. I'm swearing a lot today. It's just where we are. I'm comfortable in my living room and delighted by my windows. So I guess more of my authentic me comes out. It's all authentic, by the way. There's just all different levels and layers of all of us, and they're all good. Anyway, I love that idea of don't waste the mistake. Because at the end of the day, if your boat springs a leak, it has a leak and you're going to have to do something about it. And, the thing that you could do is, again, you could take that outstretched hand or use the cork or whatever solution you come up with, regardless of, whether that solution is going to have other consequences. At the end of the day, the leak happened. And you always have a choice of how to move forward. And you can just forget about it. You can just forget about the leak, assume that it's never going to happen again. And then next time you spring a leak, oh my God, what do I do? And then forget all the things that you've learned. Or don't waste the mistake, right? Remember, oh yeah, when I put this cork in last time, I told myself I was a bad person for using a cork. And like, that really sucked. And it didn't actually help me. And I just did it again. Damn it. But also, I remember that it didn't help me to feel like I was a terrible person. Instead, to look around. Now I know to look around. I know someone is going to have an arm outstretched. There's going to be another boat that I can get on, that we can tow this boat to shore. We can fix it together. I can start again. I don't have to waste this mistake. And you know what? Even with all that learning, I might spring a leak again. But maybe this time, before I even look for a cork, I look around for an outstretched hand. Like there's always going to be mistakes. It might have been a mistake to use that metaphor. You may or may not be with me right now. But don't waste the mistake, right? Even the crappiest stuff, there can be something you learn because crappy stuff is going to happen again. And what tools did you bring on board for next time? And what did you learn so that now you can help patch up somebody else's boat, you know? I had a conversation with someone recently who, wanted to talk about some of the things that they were struggling with in their life that very much mirrored some of the things that I've struggled with in my life. Obviously, no two stories are the same, but there's a reason somebody comes to you about certain things, right? It's because they know you've been there. It's such a powerful thing to know somebody's been there because it's safe to talk about. Like there's just not going to be judgment. It's a gentle landing. And so this person came and brought this thing to me, and we're feeling really bad about it. And so we had a really great conversation about it, right? And again, there's just no judgment, and it was helpful that I had been there. And I couldn't help but think how helpful it is for me to have these situations, to have people come to me with exactly or close to the thing that I struggled with, because it means I didn't waste the mistake, It makes it worth it. I look back at the years of a lot of different quirks that I used for problems. Quirks that wound up being really harmful for me, that just ended up creating more holes in my boats. And I remember I could put myself right back into myself then, and just thought, what could be the purpose of this? Like, this is just so terrible. Like, why, And now me sitting here in my living room with my windows that are delighting me, talking about this with you, having had that conversation with a friend the other day, I'm like, oh, this is why. And I'm really grateful. And I also used to hate it when people said that. I remember people talking about having recovered from various things and then saying, I'm grateful that it happened. And I would be like, oh, shut up. But now I get it. I'm so grateful. It made me me, and it gave me so much purpose. And it gave me the ability to understand when somebody comes and says, oh my God, I'm doing this thing and I'm so mad at myself and I'm such a bad person. Because when I say, been there, you're not a bad person. Let's talk about it, because you deserve for your life to feel like a place you want to be. How we get there is, once we figure out the whole GPS situation, I'll let you know. But for now, let's just talk about the fact that you deserve for your life to be a place you want to be. And if there's something in the way of that, like, let's see if we can move that thing together. Take my hand. Come onto my nice dry boat. So, if you have something that is in the way of your life being a place you want to be, and you are sitting here thinking, well, the thing you're talking about, this whole like no shame thing, doesn't apply to me because the thing I do is bad and stupid and I'm wrong and I'm a bad, like, I just want to be like, nah, like, no, like there's wisdom. There is wisdom there. You have wisdom. You are not a bad person. You just have a problem. And the cork that you're using is just like the wrong fit. But until you have another tool to help solve that problem, to plug that hole, like, it's going to feel really hard to give up that thing. So like, there's a lot of tools that we can use for that. We can use conversations. There's like actual coaching methodology to talk through how to get from point A to point B. There's also yoga, which helped me a lot because sometimes you need to actually experience what the destination feels like before you can set your GPS. There's also some cool things you can do with your brain to actually shift the way your brain automatically reacts to things. I recently became certified as a hypnotist and learned all about that. And that's a tool I'm really excited to bring into coaching because it's hard to catch those automatic responses, whether they're the automatic, I got to cork this with something, I got to go buy that bottle, or the automatic, oh my God, I did this thing, I'm a terrible person. Like all those automatic things that happen before you even have time to react, right? You can reset that. Like you can, like there are tools. Hypnosis is one that I'm especially excited about right now that can get in there with you and give you tools to get in there and reset, create some new paths, create some new automatic responses. Like you can change it. And there's lots of ways. So I think we're going to stop there. I want to hear from you. So go find me on Instagram at Starfish Yoga, nothing in between. How lucky am I that I got that handle, just Starfish Yoga? I felt incredibly lucky. Yoga isn't my only or main thing anymore, but still, I'm not giving that up. Starfish Yoga, come on, it's my thing. Anyway, I love you, little starfish. Let's take some breaths together. We're going to take 3 to end. So whenever you're ready, soften your shoulders, soften your jaw, unclench that little clenchy spot between your eyebrows, and take a deep breath in through your nose. Long sigh out of your mouth. Feel that relaxation just get even better. Yeah, take another big breath in. Big exhale. Good. This one we're going to hold. Big breath in through your nose. Hold at the top. Feel your ribcage expand. Feel your belly big with air. Open your mouth. Let it go. Yeah. Maybe give yourself a smile. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Hit that subscribe button. Give me a review if it feels good or feels right for you. Despite the word gimme in there, it really is just a request, not a demand. And I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Starfish Diaries. I want to take a quick moment to thank some of the people who have made this possible. The artwork that I am so in love with is by my friend and the most talented artist, Mo Houston, and you can find her and her work and work with her by going to Joy Scout Studios. I will have that linked in the show notes. And thank you to my incredible editor, Sean Gritters. If you are looking for production support with your podcast, highly recommend that you check him out. His information will also be in the description.